How's it going, guys? So today in the PhantomCave YouTube channel, we're going to be having a look at Regal Comics #1, The Phantom. It features 2 stories in this comic. It's not like your usual few publications book, and let's get into it. And it also is in color, so at least that's a +1.5. So let's get into it. Let's get into this review of the comic, and let's get into it. So the 2 stories in this comic are actually the Warmongers and the Briefcase. Now, the first page, we actually get to have a look at, they do like a little snippet from what Lee Falk created as the Phantom and Mandrake the Magician, which in, I think, the dailies or the Sundays or something right now in the Phantom comic strip, I think Defenders of the Earth, I have been watching the old 80s and 90s cartoon TV show on YouTube for the last week or so, and what I've seen on Facebook is that Defenders of the Earth, there's a sort of comic strip or in the dailies or something coming out, or it's either that or it's partly someone's putting it up from like when Defenders of the Earth was actually a thing. And if many people might not know, Defenders of the Earth, obviously a lot of people liked the TV show, a lot of people liked the cartoon TV show, and yeah, I've been watching it and I think it's pretty damn good. Let's get into this comic book. But the Warmongers, so they, for the first sort of page, they just talk about how the Phantom came about, how the Phantom was created, and then we actually get into the story of the Warmongers. It's where a old sort of guy from a guy gets out of prison, and basically they then go to the jungle. We then see them planning a war against Longo and Wambezi, who, if you didn't know, Wambezi and Longo are one of the biggest tribes in the basically tribes in the Phantom comic strips, and the little tribes are pretty scared because there might be a war going on. There may be a war being started, and no one actually knows at this point that the war shouldn't really start. No one actually knows who had actually killed the cattle of the Longo and who had killed, poisoned the river full of fish of, I think, it might be the other way around. Longo might have, the poisoned fish from the Longo tribe's river, and I think Wambezi had their cattle poisoned or something, or killed. And then the Phantom is on a desperate search. He's got a 96-hour adventure to try and find who these thugs are trying to create a jungle war. And then, if you didn't notice, the golden ox statue disappears. Now, because the golden ox statue is very heavy, it's very, very heavy, because it's made out of that much heaviness and gold and a very big sort of piece of wood. And basically the thugs try and basically get rid of it, and then we have the Longo and Wambezi gonna try and start the war. The thugs then try and get away. The Phantom chases after them. The Phantom basically plummets them into mush. The war's about to start. The Phantom is then basically saves the day and there's no war. And plus, the contingent of the golden ox statue has been renewed. And now we move into the briefcase. So the briefcase is an old leaf oak. Oh, no, it's not. It's not an old leaf oak. It is an old Klaus Ray Murphy story and artist by Graham Nolan. Which, Graham Nolan, who do you think that is? Graham Nolan. Well, Graham Nolan, I'm pretty sure he has worked for the likes of DC Comics. I think he might have worked for Marvel Comics and stuff like that. He's a famous artist, and obviously back in the day he did a couple of I think he might have done a few Phantom stories. And they're still getting published to this day. Like Ray Murphy's stories are still getting published to this day. Some stories we probably haven't even seen in the few publications. The Phantom publication in Australia. I know that Ray Murphy's stories consistently come from Norway, and that Norway stories are pretty damn good. I love Norway stories, as I've said on the channel many times. And let's get into this story with the briefcase. So we start the story off with basically a person in danger, and the person is about to get killed, and the kids, Heloise and Kit Walker, are basically, they're in a bit of bother. And then the Phantom then saves the kids by basically not letting the kids be tortured. And basically, if you notice that the camera had moved, it had moved, but is now fixed up. And actually, I had this question like nearly a year ago of what sort of camera lens I actually use. Well, to answer that question, I use a Canon EOS 1300D, which is what the camera I use. I use a tripod, I use 2 lights and a backlight, which is my bedroom light. And yeah, it's just that if you've got the resources to actually make content, then that's good in a way. But if you don't only have like usual phone or something like this, then, and also I listen to music before I actually do like a review, do a video or something. And actually, I was down at Sydney on the weekend, and I actually went to King's Comics, which is in the heart of Sydney. And I hadn't actually been to Sydney for a while. I hadn't been to Sydney for probably a few months because I live nearly 4 hours away from Sydney. But I got some comics which will be in a video on Saturday, hopefully. And also the Saturday videos are basically, they're optional. So I can do them, or I can wait until the next week. So I'll get the comics. So what I'm about to show you is Thor #2, which is sort of like a black and white sketch sort of variant. It's a 6th printing of that comic. I have issue #3 of Thor. Issue #4 of Thor, which a new movie of the Thor's better probably. It's in production, I know that, because I've been reporting on it on my news segment. We have The Legacy of Mandrake Part 4. And then we have issue Part 1 of future state of Nightwing, which has got two Australian creators called Andrew Constant and Nicola Scott, which I'm hopefully going to basically meet at Oz Comic Con next month in March, and let's get back into the story. So the Phantom, he saves the briefcase. He then goes on to try and find what this briefcase holds, what it's used for, and who had been trying to delete it, trying to destroy it, and who wanted it for themselves. So the Phantom finally works that out. He takes the guy that was hurt to Dr. Axel's sort of hospital, and he then returns the briefcase to basically a judge of law, justice sort of thing, and then he basically brings down the crime lord. He saves the day, and basically when Beezy's Zambuju's a couple of sort of evil guys, he then meets up with the crime sort of guy and destroys him, and then hands them into the police. And then on the last page, we actually get to see, in memory of Lee Falk, they actually did a sort of thing for Lee Falk back, basically what his history is around the characters, obviously the Phantom and the Mandrake, and he sadly passed away on March the 13th, 1999. He was buried in Cypress Hill Cemetery in Brooklyn, which I have not been to. I've not been to Brooklyn, and I hope to get over to America when this pandemic is over. If you would like to subscribe to the PhantomCave YouTube channel, you can do so down below and click that subscriber button. And as you all know, keep Phantom Caving.